Hello everybody, welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Homebrew Builds, the series where I'll be constructing classes, weapons, races, and more based on characters and items from your favorite anime, comics, TV shows, and video games. Today we're gonna get grabby, so get your vibe check hands ready because today I'll be constructing the Judoka class, inspired by the martial art as it appears in the Grappler Baki series, currently featuring two subclasses, Pinch Hitter for Iwao Muneuchi, and Authority for Morio Sonoda. Also, stick around until the end of the video to see what I'll be constructing next. The class itself was fairly easy to create, but I gotta say I had the most fun with the subclasses. The class can be boiled down to generic judo with that interesting tang of Grappler Baki flair, but the subclasses are where I did my typical work. Features based on feats or abilities shown or used by the character the class is inspired by at some point in the series, or a feature that equally exudes their energy. Morio was super fun because I basically got to create his subclass features based on his character rather than what he's done. So instead of seeing a feat and trying to convert it into the D&D 5e system, I could just make up a feature that's about judo's restraining techniques, of which it has many. That's quite literally why Morio's character exists. Many LEOs in real life learn judo or some judo equivalent because the skill set taught in judo, or how to take down, choke, and or restrain a person, is invaluable in their line of work. Because of that, his subclass features are, similarly to the normal class features, just generic enough to be based on him, but applicable to any character that wants to, in the case of the Authority subclass, fight like a judo-trained police officer. If you guys would like to see some subclasses made for other judokas featured in Grappler Baki, such as Kohei Hatanaka from the Maximum Tournament, or the legendary judo master at the height of his superiority, Yoichiro Hanma, let me know in the comments section down below. For future installments, I'll be featuring a number of subclasses for any homebrew class I make that has subclasses, but the number of subclasses may vary, and there's nothing to say I won't make a dedicated video to revisit a class and add a subclass to it. For example, if I did a video on my Horseman class inspired by the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse featured in the video game Darksiders, I currently only have Red Rider, or War, and Pale Rider, or Death, complete. But if you guys wanted Fury and Strife-inspired subclasses, I could make a video on one or both. It doesn't bother me. On the contrary, it's easier for me if I don't have to complete all the subclasses for my classes before releasing a video, and it prevents me from getting burnt out on a series, so if that's what the people want, I'm happy to oblige. Anyway, let's get into the construction of the only class that'll let you drop people harder than a 7-story fall, the Judoka class. Just a minor preface before we get into things, not all of these features will work with the one D&D system. So if your group is using those playtest rules and you want to work with your DM to modify any of these features to work within that rule set, feel free to do so. Anyway, starting where all great episodes of Dungeons & Dragons Homebrew builds start, let's talk about the hit die. The hit die for this class is going to be a D8. Judokas have to be beefy. Extremely beefy to get slammed around all day and still be able to dish out as much as they take. Since the class was, in its inception, based on Iwao and Morio in equal parts, I went with the happy medium. Iwao would likely have a D10, being a top-class judoka even by Grappler Baki standards, having the scars to prove all the damage he survived, and taking blows from a prime dopo, but Morio would likely only have a D6 of health himself, only being a fodder-tier gold medalist judo Olympian and having been both a retired judoka and a desk jockey police inspector. Average them out and you've got your D8. No armor or weapon proficiencies, since in judo you don't need armor and the floor is your weapon. You gain proficiency in one tool of your choice, constitution and wisdom saving throws because judo requires the grit to tank, having your entire body weight plus the strength of somebody else slamming you into the ground, and the wisdom to use things like break falls, leverage, and momentum to give you a break from being formally introduced to concrete, dirt, and stone. You also gain proficiency in 2 of the following skills: acrobatics, athletics, intimidation, perception, and sleight of hand. Acrobatics and athletics are kind of self-explanatory considering the class, but intimidation comes from Iwao and the imposing nature of judoka and their ability to fold laundry with people still in them. Perception comes from Iwao and a judoka's ability to spot the slightest opening in one's guard or opportunity for a grip, and sleight of hand essentially comes from just how easily judoka are able to get said grip. In terms of features, this class is majority made up of subclass features, but in total it has 29 different features, each of them great for a little bit of punchin' and kickin', some restraining and choking, but most importantly for grabbing and slamming. So the name of the game is still, on the whole, grappling. Not much has changed since our last homebrew build, but this will be the last Grappler Baki revision, until I'm ready to release the Rikishi class, the last class revision in general, same terms apply, and the last Grappler Baki class I'll create that heavily features grappling for quite a while. I think Kureha and of course Gallon have a lot of grappling, but I plan to cover karate and boxing before I get to them, and that's just with Grappler Baki homebrew builds. In any case, the features I've constructed are specifically designed to make you more grabby than me when I found my grandmother's extendo grab, so let's start with the Judoka class's version of the martial arts feature, aptly named Judo. At first level, your fighting experience in martial arts gives you mastery of Judo. You gain the following benefits while you are unarmed and aren't wearing armor or wielding a shield. When you grapple a creature, you can choose to restrain it instead of merely grappling it. You can use dexterity instead of strength for attacks and damage rolls of your unarmed strikes or throws. You can roll a d6 in place of normal damage of your unarmed strikes. This die changes as you gain Judoka levels, to 1d8 at 5th level, 1d10 at 11th level, and 1d12 at 17th level. When you use the attack action with an unarmed strike on your turn, you can make one throw attack as a bonus action. For example, if you take the attack action and strike the person, you can also make a throw as a bonus action, assuming you haven't already taken a bonus action this turn. Some of your features require your target to make a saving throw to resist the feature's effects. The saving throw DC is calculated as follows. Save DC equals 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your wisdom modifier. Throw, a special melee attack action in which you grapple the target and throw them. The distance thrown depends on you, but the maximum range is 10 plus your athletics modifier feet. When the thrown creature hits something, it takes the damage of an unarmed strike. You'll notice that the throw ability featured in this, feature, is different from the throw outlined in the Jujutsu feature for the Master class. It's been simplified to describing the two most important things about a throw in Judo: how far the creature can be thrown, and what happens when they collide with something else. Short, sweet, simple, and effective. Just like Judo. Also, just a disclaimer, this was the first class I constructed after taking time to look at how other classes are constructed, in both official material and homebrew, so I made this class over 2 years ago. I say that to say this. In looking at how one would go about doing homebrew Judo, I pulled inspiration and wording from a couple of sources I found did so well, but I can't remember any of those sources. I know this isn't some high school paper where I have to cite my sources, but the homebrew stuff I looked at really helped me to create my own features, and the people that made that homebrew worked hard and deserve recognition, which I would like to give. If you Google Judo homebrew, I'm sure you'll find some homebrew that has a similar class feature or has the same name or phrasing as a feature used for this class, so if you do, be sure to support those creators and tell them Red Fox sent you. Other than that, we get a bonus action throw, an unarmed damage increase using the same system as the monk class's unarmed damage increase that inflicts Iwao's atomic bomb strikes, and Morio's wacky inflatable arm flailing tube-man wet noodle strikes, and a nice ability in the form of being able to restrain instead of just grappling. An overall great start to a great class if I do say so myself. Continuing on in our first level, we also get unarmored defense. While you are wearing no armor and not wielding a shield, your AC equals 10 plus your constitution modifier. A pretty basic and useful feature for any unarmed fighter in D&D to have. And we get it a lot sooner than we did in the Master class, chiefly due to the fact that, unlike in that class, Judoka doesn't see us gaining an overwhelming number of reactionary defensive options. We do get some later, since Judo also features redirection of attacks, what with it stemming from Jujutsu itself, but those features are gained later, fewer in number, and not as potent, so the Judoka is going to need a healthy little AC boost. We'll be concluding our first level features with the Gentle Way, which is, for those of you that don't know, the direct English translation for the word Judo. While many fighters focus on strikes and kicks, the fighting class taught in the Gentle Way instead emphasizes throws and locks. In taking up this path, you learn a multitude of wrestling tricks and techniques which you can employ to neutralize your enemies without harming them or to twist and break your foes into submission. To aid in this task, you learn to grasp creatures with speed and without hesitation, allowing you to make a grapple check as a bonus action. I think originally I found the name and flavor text for this feature online, but it didn't have an actual application for the game, so I thought, well, it's Judo, you can't go wrong with a grapple as a bonus action, because you kinda need to grapple stuff to do Judo. Also, this may help with how you want to use your actions in general action economy, because the Judo feature specifically only allows you to throw as a bonus action, meaning the grapple and subsequent throw are made a pair. With this feature, you can now just grapple as a bonus action, which has a lot more utility than only being able to throw. Uh-oh, my ally has been downed and is about to be attacked, giving him an automatic failed death save. What should I do? Oh, I know, I'll pick him up with my bonus action, dash with my action, and escape. Perfect. Starting us off at second level, we have Newaza. You learn a variety of expert grappling techniques. You gain the following benefits. You can use the attack action to attempt to escape from a grapple. Each escape attempt counts as one attack, and you can combine this with your bonus action attack. When you successfully grapple a creature, you can deal your unarmed strike damage to it. You can grapple a creature up to 2 sizes larger than yourself. Fun fact, Shintaro Higashi, a well-known judo YouTuber and accomplished judoka and Olympic athlete, recently mentioned in a conversation with Martial Arts Journey's Rokas, a famous Aikido/MMA YouTuber, that the Olympics had changed the rule set for judo because it looked too much like wrestling. There you go. Interesting factoid of the day. Anyway, I do believe this feature is one of the ones I found online, and it's a strong one to boot. While the jury's still out on melee attack countering reactions, we're already getting access to grappling defense, as is extremely important for judokas to maintain a dominant position while grappling. Furthermore, beyond our throws, now even our grapples do damage, the damage of our unarmed strike to be exact, which meshes quite well with the judo feature increasing our unarmed strike damage. Oh, and we can now also grapple big boys. I'll tell you guys, one of the most annoying things that happens while running a grapple-centric class is running into an enemy that is either A, too big to grapple, or B, immune to the grappled condition. Can't do much about the latter, but this feature helps with the former. I've run one-shots with quite a few groups to test my classes in general homebrew. I've even got a group dedicated to helping me test my stuff and helping to give constructive criticism. And I can't tell you guys how many times my Rikishi Nomi and Nomi 2 classes, my Imai Cosmo King of Stranglers class, my Goki Shibukawa the Master class, and many other grappler classes got reduced to useless because we were fighting something just a smidge too big to grapple. Like, you would not believe how fast my heart sinks when I do the only thing I really can, grapple, and the DM says, you can't because XYZ. It's like being a melee warrior in Morrowind and getting ambushed by baby's first murder of cliff racers. Thanks St. Geob that they aren't an issue anymore. You can do so many things while grappling and you're extremely powerful, but the main weakness of a class like this is that a simple difference in size, or one conditional immunity, can reduce you to a bad monk. And monks are already pretty super hot garbaggio. Our next class feature and the last of second level's features is Judoka's Pressure. Another feature I'm 90% sure I found online, and boy is it a doozy. I don't know if I like it, but it is certainly a doozy. Beginning at second level, you learn to constantly grab at enemies nearby, preventing them from easily moving near you. Any creature you choose that you are aware of must spend an extra 2 feet of movement for each 1 foot it moves while within 5 feet of you. See, I don't know if it makes much sense to me to think in terms of how it would apply to the world rather than just game mechanics, but I've rationalized that the movement speed cost increase comes from an increased effort required to move around due to being grabbed at, rather than judokas having mystical powers that allows them to extend the amount of distance creatures have to walk, like there's some kind of great value brand space stone. That said, in terms of practical gameplay mechanical effects, I like it. It's a fun way of giving the otherwise chiefly combat-oriented judoka class some more utility. And you know what we say about utility on this channel. Third level sees us gaining a new class feature, Grappler's Flourish, in our subclass, from which you can either go down the path of the pinch hitter and gain the feature 71-4, or you can go down the path of authority and gain the feature Chief. Starting with Grappler's Flourish, starting at third level, when you grapple a creature, you can add a flourish to the grapple with any of the following effects. Shut up. You cover the creature's mouth or grab its throat until you choose to release it or until the end of your next turn. You must have an empty hand to use this flourish, and the hand can't be doing anything else until the effect ends. While this flourish lasts, the creature can't speak. Don't look. You cover the creature's eyes until you choose to release it or until the start of the creature's next turn. You must have an empty hand to use this flourish, and the hand can't be doing anything else until the effect ends. While this flourish lasts, the creature is blinded. Don't listen. You cover the creature's ear until you choose to release it or until the start of the creature's next turn. While this flourish lasts, the creature is deafened. Give me that. You attempt to take an item the creature is holding in its hand away from it. The creature must make a strength save, or you take the item away from it. Even if the creature holds the item in 2 hands, you can still perform this flourish. Being one of the features I found online, of which the list seems to be growing at an alarming rate that I did not remember the size of, I found this feature to be just practical enough to be useful and just weird enough to be unique. Also, utility! Moving on to subclasses, we have Path of the Judoka. When one decides to take up judo, one can go about it in many different ways. At third level, you decide which kind of judo path you wish to follow from the available paths. From there, you have your pick of pinch hitter or authority. With pinch hitter, as a bet fighter, you've chosen to be a fighter that uses judo, not a judoka. You don't pull your throws, you're well versed in free fighting, and you aren't above underhanded tactics. On the flip side, with the more uppity and by-the-books authority, you are an officer of the law, and an officer of the highest rank as well, Chief of Police. You use your judo skill to train officers in hand-to-hand combat detaining criminals, but back in the day, you used to use these skills to seek glory on the world stage. You were a champion, and you still are. So the Street Fighter versus a more straight and narrow judo. Not quite sport judo, but like 70s to 90s era sport judo modified for police work, which sees aggressive offenders attacking with punches, kicks, grabs, tackles, and even weapons. One path uses all available means to win a fight while using judo as a base, while the other is prepared to use judo to defend themselves from any means of attack and restrain the attacker rather than knocking them the hell out. Also, as a side note, for those of you that don't know why I specified 70s to 90s era sports judo, judo, and most sport martial arts for that matter, were very different back in the 90s and earlier. They were typically more street fight worthy, but were mellowed out by rules for either participant safety against permanent injury or lethal trauma, or because the focus became more on scoring points rather than winning the fight. Just look up one of the hundreds of Dark Age Taekwondo videos on YouTube. Anyway, on Pinch Hitter, with the feature 71-4, you've fought enough battles to build up scars and calluses all over your body. But with those scars comes strength and experience. You gain a +4 bonus to unarmed strike damage rolls. Furthermore, all grapple checks are made with advantage. Now this is a 100% Red Fox original, and boy is it a needed boost. Now, since our grapples deal the damage of our unarmed strike, both our unarmed strikes and our grapples are going to deal a bit more damage, which is always good, and now we're more likely to get that much needed grapple because of the advantage. It makes sense to me because the underground Kengan-type fighter is going to know better how to hurt people while grappling, and is still probably much better at taking advantage of grapple opportunities than a 50-plus retired athlete who has spent most of his time on manga panel dealing with bureaucracy and chatting with other characters rather than, fighting. It comes down to a matter of different priorities. Good cops typically don't want to hurt people they arrest, but fighters hurt by design. And practice makes perfect. With Authority's chief feature, on the other hand, due to your responsibility to ensure that those around you know how to arrest criminals with the most efficiency and least risk, you can teach judo to your allies. By spending 1 hour a day over 4 days a month teaching somebody judo, they can gain 1 level in the Judoka class. I was pretty proud of this one. I thought it made sense with the character since he's primarily a judo instructor for his department, and I thought it was a cool idea for a unique but balanced class feature. The time spent teaching, a total of 16 hours, grants a creature 3 really good judo class features, being judo, unarmored defense, and the gentle way, so I suppose it's up to them to decide if it's worth the effort, but it sounds like a sweet deal to me. I think my biggest inspiration for this class feature was the class feature for the Lord of Shadows Homebrew class that allows someone that drinks your blood to gain a level of your class. I thought that was actually kind of dope, and while I had some logistical questions like does this feature still work on a 20th level creature, I didn't get any answers. And now neither will you. 4th level season ASI or feat, consider boosting stats like strength or dexterity for your grapples and throws, or constitution for your health. Seeing as you'll be spending a lot of one-on-one time at close range due to your main means of attack amounting to very dangerous hugging, if you go for a feat, be sure not to pick one that has benefits already provided by a class feature. For example, contrary to face value assumption, I don't see a feat like Tavern Brawler being particularly useful for this class. Now that we've covered subclasses, spoiler warning for the rest of the class, you get new subclass features at 5th, 6th, 9th, 10th, 13th, 14th, 17th, and 18th level. Fun class, I know. I say that to say, at 5th level, Pinch Hitter gains a new class feature in the form of Master Grappler. Quite fitting for somebody who spends all their time grappling, except when he's not. Starting at 5th level, your expertise with grappling is so great that whenever you make an unarmed strike on a creature and succeed in hitting them, you can choose to grapple the creature instead. Pretty standard D&D mechanics of subbing a successful attack roll for a successful grapple, and good against creatures with high athletics or strength to contest you. So a creature you could hit with an unarmed strike, but would have strength too high to be able to, per se, grapple. Can't give a specific example of this in official material off the old dome, but I know for a fact it's in there. Think of it like a cast punch from Sambo, but grappling from a hit rather than a miss. Authority is a little more lawful good rather than chaotic violent with Protect and Serve. At 5th level, to uphold your responsibility to protect the innocent, you can grapple a creature within your reach that attempts to attack a friendly creature as a reaction. You are literally serving by protecting. You are grabbing and potentially restraining somebody that tries to attack a friendly creature. Suffice it to say, I was proud of this, and I do believe this is 100% original recipe, coming from the idea of taking an opportunity attack on a creature that would move out of your way, the police officer, to harm an innocent. 6th level grants us our next class feature rather than another subclass feature with Judo Throws, or Nagewaza if you're a weeb. At 6th level, due to your mastery of throwing techniques, when you use the attack action to shove a creature, you may deal bludgeoning damage as though you had hit it with an unarmed strike, in addition to the normal effects of the shove. Also, you may move that creature to any square adjacent to you before it is subject to the effects of the shove. And you may choose to cause both effects of the shove at once, pushing the target 5 feet and rendering it prone simultaneously. This class feature was a truly combined effort from an online source and myself. Rather than basically copy the feature verbatim or make something completely new by myself, what I did was I looked to see how people were homebrewing throws into 5e, and one of the suggestions I saw was basically this. Something along the lines of a shove action being in a chosen direction and doing what it normally does, but would also deal damage, which would simulate the effects of a throw. Creature falling down where I decide, and creature getting hurt. Done deal. I basically took this broad idea of a 5e throw mechanic, made it into a class feature, labeled it as the class feature to represent all of Judo's vast and diverse Nagewaza, throwing techniques, and sealed it with a stamp. This would include things like the Tayatoshi and Haragoshi as seen in the Oliva vs. Police Judo team scene. That said, if you want more specific representation of Judo techniques, look no further than Pinch Hitter's very own shoulder throw or Seoe Nage. At 6th level, you learn the shoulder throw, a technique that, using the two-handed throw, involves turning and lifting your opponent on your back while keeping both hands on their collar or arm, and throwing them over your shoulder. On your turn, you can grapple a creature and perform a two-handed throw. You must make a Strength Athletics check contested by the Strength Athletics check or Dexterity Acrobatics check of the creature. If you succeed, the creature takes bludgeoning damage equal to your unarmed strike plus your Strength Athletics modifier plus 1 for every 100 pounds the creature weighs. The creature is then dropped prone and moved 5 feet away. That's about as specific as it gets for Judo techniques, but should you choose Authority, you're going to be regaining some of the power you had in your prime instead with World Champion, because at 6th level, you reawaken the mastery over Judo that made you a champion at the world stage. You may add your Wisdom modifier to your Strength Athletics check when performing grapple or shove checks. A simple boost to not only offset Pinch Hitter's advantage early on, but to represent you reclaiming the absolute technical mastery, the wisdom gained through years of practice and competition, of Judo Morio would have had to have been a gold medalist at the world stage. We forget because world champions get fodderized in Baki so often, but sometimes world champs live up to their name and are some of the more dominant fighters across the entire series. Morio is not and likely will never be one of those men, but a guy can dream, can he? 7th level has for us our next class feature in the form of pacing and timing. This, if I remember correctly, is ripped from the interwebs, but I had to do the flavor text. Your many fights and wins begin to bear results. You start to grasp the movements of the human body. You gain proficiency in athletics. If you already have proficiency in athletics, your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check you make that uses athletics. I definitely didn't write the practical effect, or at least I hope I didn't, because that's just a really roundabout way of saying you are proficient with athletics. If you are already proficient with athletics, double the proficiency. I personally like using the same language they use in the official material because it seems more official, and it's much simpler for me to use instead of thinking of my own explanations for stuff. Anyway, yeah, athletics expertise. Long overdue for all the talk of having expertise in grappling I've put in all the flavor texts. At 8th level, we get our next ASI, second verse same as the first, strength or dex, and con. You want a feat? Try Aberrant Dragon Mark. Why? I don't know, Iwao Muneuchi with a Dragon Mark just sounds cool. For all of Judo's grabbing techniques and throwing techniques and this and that and the other, I'm noticing a distinct lack of striking techniques. Now that's fair because there aren't many in Judo in general, but this isn't just any Judo, it's Grappler Baki Judo. It's supposed to be like normal Judo, but on more steroids than Jack takes in a work week. So both of these men aim to change that and spice up your subclasses with some Uchiwaza, particularly Kiriwaza. Also another fun fact before I continue, Uchiwaza means striking techniques, and in context, Kiriwaza means kicking techniques. So both subclasses get a kick, kicks being shamefully lackluster in D&D without Homebrew, but the word Giri by itself means diarrhea. I'm currently writing a manga or novel or something, I haven't quite decided yet, and you can imagine my confusion when I'm trying to name a karate kicking technique named sword kick that keeps coming back in kanji as sword diarrhea. Mei-giri is front kick, Mawashi-giri is round kick, Yoko-giri is side kick, Ushio-giri is back kick, and Ken-giri is sword diarrhea. That's what I get. Sword diarrhea. It's because giri alone means diarrhea, and the translation engine I was using wouldn't possibly know the context of how I wanted to use giri based on 2 words. There's a fun little story for you. Anyways, the pinch hitter gets joint kick, which makes sense because oblique kicks are banned from most public combat sports due to risk of permanent injury. But Iwao fights underground where there are no rules. Due to your fighting experience, at 9th level, you learn this powerful unarmed strike. This technique is a stomping kick aimed at the front of an opponent's knee. This kick can be quite devastating, dealing 2d10 bludgeoning damage on a hit. The creature must make a Constitution saving throw. Upon failing to contest the saving throw, their knee will be broken. Upon success, they will take the damage but suffer no other ill effects. Broken knee. The creature gains disadvantage on all dexterity checks and saving throws. The creature's movement speed is halved. The creature is prevented from using the dash action. So, as you can tell, if it hits, I deliberately made it mirror its real-life threat. It's highly likely to mess you up for life. But you know what? That's actually not even as bad as Authority's kicking subclass feature. That's right, the lawful good cop is gonna mess you up worse than the underground, no rules, no holds barred killing machine. Introducing Morio Sonoda's signature technique, made famous by the legendary champion of the Korakuen Underground Arena, Baki Hanma, the one, the only, Kinteki Giri! Also, for clarification's sake, yes, your Kinteki are your testicles. It's the nut masher, the testicle kick, or with my luck, the fucking testicle diarrhea. At 9th level, sometimes, as an enforcer of the law, you have to stoop to the level of the criminals you desire to capture. You can kick a creature in their genitals. The unarmed strike deals 2d6 bludgeoning damage, and a creature with genitals must make a Constitution saving throw. On a successful save, the creature will be knocked prone and incapacitated in pain until the end of their next turn. On a failed save, they are knocked unconscious. Not quite as devastating as it was on Spec, but come on guys, I had to keep it balanced. At 10th level, we get a second subclass feature for both paths, aligned to attack with Pinch Hitter and Pursuit of Justice with Authority. Inspired by the start of the fight between Doppo and Iwao, aligned to attack allows you to add your proficiency to all strength athletics checks made in an attempt to grapple a creature. Pinch Hitter already had advantage, so at about halfway to Capstone, we've started bulking each roll with guarantees. 2 tries for a roll is nice, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, your guaranteed success comes in the form of bonuses to your natural roll. With Pursuit of Justice, because of your conviction in keeping the innocent safe, you always give it 110% when you're making an arrest. You gain advantage on grapple checks. At the opposite end of the spectrum, since we've already given Authority a statistical boost, and now we've given Pinch Hitter advantage and a statistical boost, Authority now gains advantage on grapples. With Bizarre Form at 11th level, your style is unconventional, even amongst other martial arts practitioners. And that serves to intimidate the uninitiated. When a creature enters combat against you, you can make a Charisma Intimidation check opposed by the creature's Wisdom Insight check. If the creature fails to contest the check, they are frightened of you. This is also inspired by the beginning of Doppo vs. Iwao, but the form Iwao took was a general neutral stance in judo, so if the God of War, Cannibal, Doppo, Tiger Slayer Orochi thought this basic judo stance was bizarre and put him a bit off kilter, your average creature in D&D is going to feel the same way. 12th level brings us over the hump for ASIs, so start considering what you want to capstone, what you plan to round off, stuff like that. Also, take a good long look at those feats and make sure there's nothing you want. Be sure to take into consideration that some feats provide ability score improvements on top of special perks and abilities. Rolling through to 13th level, we get our next set of subclass features, followed by more of them at 14th level. So unique, such wow. For Black Belt at 13th level, your mastery of getting a grip on a creature is so great. While it's possible to fight to be released from your grip, it is impossible to escape your initial attempt. When you grapple a creature, the creature cannot contest the grapple initiation. Wow, huh? Pretty powerful feat, all things considered. Even Doppo was completely powerless to avoid or contest Iwao's initial grapple, though he would later go on to escape. If Doppo's praising you as being on the level of a karate black belt only for him to immediately get grappled despite seemingly already gauging your ability, you're good at what you do. Authority's Arresting Takedown at 13th level allows you to slam a creature into the ground, knocking them prone and dealing 1d4 plus your strength modifier bludgeoning damage when you're grappling it and it is restrained. So with this feature, you can grapple a creature, choose to restrain it, and slam them down, dealing damage to them and dropping them prone all in one go. Also, shout out to my dad, he actually helped me make this class feature. I asked him for some arresting techniques used in a CQC situation, and with him having been MP during Desert Shield and Desert Storm, as well as having been a deputy in Florida for a time, he seemed the most qualified. Of course I've gotta ask him, he was stationed in one of the most dangerous war zones on Earth as a cop. Oh, and he did the Desert Storm thing too, but fucking Florida, dude! The only place on Earth where Spec is just another average resident. Anyway, 14th level's Alert for Pinch Hitter lets us also deal additional damage equal to our unarmed strike to a creature when we throw it. So damage is starting to rack up. We've got the damage from the throw equal to an unarmed strike, which increases over time because of martial arts increasing our unarmed strike damage die, the damage boost from the 71 to 4, and now another damage die of unarmed strike damage. With just a normal throw, you're looking at a max of 24 damage in one attack at 14th level, or 48 damage on a crit. If you use your Pinch Hitter shoulder throw, that's 2d8 from the throw, 1d10 from Alert, and plus 4 from 71 to 4, so a max of 46 damage with one attack at 14th level, or fucking 92 damage on a crit. And it gets stronger at 17th level, bumping up from a d10 for unarmed strikes to a d12, leading to a single shoulder throw dealing a crit maximum of 96 damage. Now, all of that is bludgeoning damage and technically fall damage, which could lead to extra resistances or reactions, but not bad for an unarmed fighter in my humble opinion. Now, Authority is less about hurting people and more about restraining them, so I definitely played to that strength with Ground Arrest at 14th level. You have experience with arresting a creature on the ground. When you attempt to grapple a prone creature, you can add your proficiency bonus to the grapple check. More bonuses to the natural roll equals higher chance of guaranteed success, and that's what we like to see. This was also brought to you by my father's recommendation. As he mentioned, a lot of arrests end up on the ground either on purpose by the acting LEO, or as a product of the struggle. Also, like Judo Newaza, aka ground techniques, aka a third of Judo's main arsenal, which is standing grappling techniques, throw techniques, and ground grappling techniques. With that in mind, 15th level gives us a useful feature in the form of Straddle, brought to you by Iwao taking the full mount on Doppo in their fight. At 15th level, Judo has taught you many dominant positions against a prone creature. You can mount a prone creature at the hips as a bonus action. You gain advantage on all attack rolls made in this position, the creature has disadvantage on any attempts to contest being grappled, and the creature cannot stand up or move. To escape, the creature must make a Strength Athletics check opposed by a Strength Athletics check from you. Just like in a real full mount, it's incredibly difficult to get out of because you're using your body weight to pin not only the person's hips, making it difficult to stand up or use leverage, but the center of their body, making it difficult for them to commit to getting up with your top half or bottom half. Beyond that, ground and pound's a bitch, and there's not much you can do about it if you're untrained. We're at 16th level now, so we're in the end game. If you ever even play a campaign to this point, start rounding stuff off and make sure that if you have any odd numbers after this, you can commit to rounding them off instead of wasting points. We've got 2 more subclass features for each subclass at 17th and 18th level respectively, so Pinch Hitter gets grappling defense at 17th level, and Pinch Hitter's toughness at 18th level. Authority, on the other hand, gets position reversal, something good for a police officer to have considering it could mean their life if the criminal gets a dominant position, and might makes right. With 17th level's Grappler defense, naturally, Judo has prepared you and trained you to defend against the grappling techniques that the style has to offer. You can add your proficiency bonus to attempt to avoid being grappled or to escape a grapple. Furthermore, you are immune to being restrained by a creature. We haven't gotten much in the way of anti-grapple since, 2nd level, because I don't think grappling is too common in D&D in general, but any Judoka worth their salt should be like a 17th level Pinch Hitter Judoka if they want to survive. Stop grapples, get out of them, no restraints, and of course being able to do all that and more to others. With position reversal, every now and then a dumb criminal tries to out-grapple you, but you didn't win in a competition between the greatest judokas in the world several times because you don't know how to handle a grappling opponent. When a creature tries to grapple, pin, or restrain you, you can throw them as a reaction. Authority Judoka can take grappling defense a step further by not only stopping grapple attempts, but throwing the creature, dropping them prone, and hurting them. That said, you get 1 reaction per turn, whereas the boost from grapple defense lasts indefinitely. Pinch Hitter's toughness at 18th level gives us 2 conditional features. When you attempt to maintain a grapple on a creature, you can use your Strength Athletics modifier, plus your Constitution modifier as bonuses to the roll. When you throw a creature, they take an additional 1d10 bludgeoning damage. More fucking damage. That 96 crit max at 17th level just became a 106 crit max with a single attack, and it's harder for creatures to escape your mighty grip. Very nice, Iwao-chan! Finally, for our subclass features with Might Makes Right, for Authority, at 18th level, your sense of justice, desire to do what's right, and obligation to those that long for peace pushes you to be the strongest you can be, so that your judo can make a difference. You can grapple a creature up to 3 sizes larger than you, and, because of your inspiration in fighting for a just cause, you gain an additional D8 bonus to your grappling rolls. Look, at this point, if there's anything that can escape your grapples or stop them without some kind of magic bullshit, or conditional immunity or something, just run away. Size is barely an issue anymore, and if something is strong enough to get past all of your grapple bonuses, he is going to cremate you in a single strike anyway. 19th level is your last chance to do as you will with your ASIs, so, do as you will. Finally, we hit our capstone, True Essence of Judo. At 20th level, you learn to redirect and enhance your opponent's strength. When a creature within melee range of you misses an attack against you with a melee attack, you can spend your reaction to attempt to throw that creature, dealing bludgeoning damage to the creature equal to your own unarmed strike, plus its own strength modifier. And there we go, the compulsory soft-style grappling melee attack redirection. Unlike with Shibukawa's The Master class, you get one and it's at 20th level, but you can be damn sure that it wouldn't be the gentle way without some redirection. And that is going to bring us to the end of the Judoka class. Check out the Judoka class as well as all the other homebrew on the channel in a Google Doc in the link in the description down below, and be sure to do all the stuff to support the channel. Also be sure to let me know if you liked the class. As for what homebrew build I'll be doing next, to celebrate the new Bleach anime release, and because I'm personally super hyped about it and my hype gets renewed every time I watch a new episode, I'll be building the Soul Reaper class, a class built off of and greatly altered, for better or worse, from the pre-existing Soul Reaper homebrew class on D&D Homebrew Wiki. Inspired by the Bleach Brave Souls mobile game's 1000-Year Blood War units, featuring subclasses inspired by the Round 1 units for now, with batches 2 to 14 unit subclasses on the way, although Round 10 might be a bit more difficult, as Uryu is the only 1000-Year Blood War unit I don't currently own. Alright, I've been the undefeated champion of YouTube, and this has been Dungeons & Dragons Homebrew Builds. Thanks for watching, peace.